I honestly never wanted to be a lawyer. I did my graduation from Miranda House Hill University in Geography and Economics. And then after that, law faculty's exam happened to be the first exam in Delhi University. I sat for it. I cleared it. I was ranked 10th All India. And then I thought that I don't want to spend my summer studying and appearing in any more exams. So that just happened by sheer laziness. If not a lawyer, I actually would have been either an environmentalist or a vet. I'm very passionate about environment. I also do participate regularly in several petitions, PIL especially, around safeguarding our environment, conserving our natural resources, and wildlife, protection of wildlife. I would say it would be getting a good opportunity where you can learn the skills. Definitely law is learned. We do have courses and we do have the educational degree, but you actually learn law by practicing it. So the skill sharpening is incredibly important in the early years. I was lucky enough to start with remote work way back when I started in 2012 for a tech company. And back then, lawyers working remotely for companies in different jurisdictions, for clients who were not Indians, and dealing in laws that were not Indian or not something that I'd studied did require a lot of hard work and was something that was unheard of. People really questioned me what I was doing. But now the world is borderless, and we do have young lawyers who are working across the countries, experimenting with new laws that are coming up, or at least the new technologies that are coming up, and they're excelling. So I think that is the biggest hurdle, understanding what your core skills and specializations lie in, and then just working hard to keep sharpening them. That's actually a good question. And if I only had a dime for every time I get this question in my LinkedIn inbox from these young lawyers, I would be richer than Elon Musk now. But jokes apart, for me, this happened because I started in the technology sector. The first company I worked with hosts these websites for about 98% of the world's traffic or websites across the globe, called Automatic. And for them, technology was something that was inherent in their product. It was sheer by design. Back then, we did not have these laws that would protect data per se. But there was also not an absence of any law that would interpret data protection and privacy of the individuals. So the company was very, very conscious of how the product is being built, how the data would be stored, accessed, processed, what would happen with individuals' rights around data. And privacy was the central core, or to say the central element of what the product was. From there, basically, I learned it because my mentors, the seniors in the legal team, were also experienced tech lawyers from giants like Intel, Google, Microsoft. And for me, I was under their able umbrella learning. I was basically thrown into this because the absence of laws meant that we had to regulate everything on our own and to the best of the users and the company's interest. So I learned it surely by working in this sector. Till today, I do not have any certification for any of these courses around data or privacy. I have never done I've never taken any classes for this, but I've just learned over the years, over the last 10 years from working in this sector. So that was my entry, and it's only a couple of, like, when GDPR came up in 2018, it became the central point of a lot of lawsuits, and of course the regulations started creeping in and people started working in this. It is still at a nascent stage because the technology is changing. Remember that the time when GDPR was enacted, we had this concept of Web 2, and now the concept of Web 3 is emerging along with artificial intelligence that is coming up in really big way. So it is even better time for people to enter the data privacy and data protection field. Also, if somebody is more interested, they can just look at privacy in general, which I actually like. I just don't restrict myself to the data subset, but I go for the broader understanding, that is privacy in general, biometric identification, all other biometric privacy that a user should have. And that is very, very fascinating. And I think we are moving into an era where this would be again the central, would be the core of a lot of lawsuits that would happen. That's actually a tricky question because I am also fairly new in the metaverse industry. So I somehow stumbled into this industry about 3 years ago. Though I was, again, 3 years ago, I was one of the first few lawyers to enter, but it is still, the technology itself is evolving and it's changing day by day. So it's very difficult for me to tell you like how we are positioning ourselves. But metaverse, more or less, as a technology, is evolving, but it is still something where the legacy laws, the traditional laws, can be applied. And this is highly contentious because I see a lot of lawyers who are very validly advocating for newer set of laws that takes into account the crimes of the metaverse. But from my experience in metaverse, and I've been party to a couple of cases, lawsuits that for things that happened in the metaverse, in both in Germany and in the UK. And I would say that we were quite successful in applying the traditional laws to the crimes of metaverse. The logic was that metaverse is just a new location where a crime is occurring. Avatars are just mirrors of physical person. An avatar in itself is an ideal state. It will never go until unless prompted to act in a certain way or commit a certain crime. Avatars are not intelligent beings in themselves. Also, they do not enjoy legal personhood like us. So there's always a human that is prompting them or commanding them or instructing them to work in a certain way. And this human is then held liable if that avatar commits crime, because going by the same logic, it is the human that is committing crime in a physical, in a virtual location, no longer a physical location. So the intent is the same, the harm is the same, everything is the same. So you can very well apply the legacy laws. Only recently, I think last week, we came to know that Interpol has also entered the metaverse, and they will open up a police station sort of a thing in the metaverse to understand and deal with the crimes of the Web3, which is very, very fascinating because you see Web3 right now is such a dark area where there are a lot of scams, a lot of crimes, a lot of fraud is being committed. And the entire situation is complex because we do not know who the real people behind those avatars are, where are they sitting, and if indeed it is that person who owns the avatar asking the avatar to go and commit a crime, what if that account was hacked? So the complexity of establishing identity of an avatar, who committed the crime, when did the crime was committed, where was it committed, like the physical location, was it in India, was it in US, and the entire entire complexity of avatars being, falling into multiple jurisdictional, multi-jurisdictional aspect of it. So there could be avatars who could be in India, then somebody in US, and then somebody in Estonia, and like whole sort of things. So that requires a very collaborated, coordinated, and conscious effort from law enforcement agencies and the lawyers to deal with the crimes of the metaverse. This is what I would say. I would restrict myself here for the criminal law part. Now let's come to the other side, the civil law. And my first case where I understood metaverse was in the employment space. So we had somebody whose office was in virtual reality. The entire team used to wear these bulky VR headsets, which is like, quite heavy, 2 to 3 kilograms, I believe. I've never tried one, but I think it's, those are very, very bulky headsets. And they had an occupational injury. And that was the core of the lawsuit, that whether this injury amounts to an injury at the workplace, or is it something that the employer is not accountable for. And we were on the other side, we were representing the employee, and we won that case. And it was the first case in the world where this precedence was set that virtual reality, or the virtual platform where they were working, metaverse, was to be deemed as an office. And any injury that has taken place due to how you are working or what equipment you are using to work in that metaverse would amount to workplace injury. And that was like a very landmark judgment. A whole lot of judgments came out after that, but that was the first that we worked on. And that was my entry into the world of metaverse. And then, of course, now we've started to see whether, these recruiters are holding interviews in the metaverse. All sorts of contracts are being signed. The validity of those contracts is being questioned. The verbal offers made during recruitment sessions are being questioned. It's a lot of gray area. It requires a lot of understanding of the technology and the laws, and also very, very important different laws of the world, because in India, I still see that a lot of lawyers are very restricted to what the Indian law says, which is very, very good. We should all know the law of the land. But now the world, this technology is borderless. You need to know at least a good amount of laws in other countries, or maybe you can specialize in a set of countries, but it is highly desirable to know those. And only recently Dubai would be the first country in the world that the Dubai government, along with South Korea, they have set up government offices in the metaverse. And Dubai will be the first country in the world that would bring forth a law that would say contracts signed in the metaverse would be legally binding. And that would be a watershed moment, because then all of us can do a whole lot of commercial activities in the metaverse, and all of them can be held valid depending on what those activities are. We are already seeing that some sort of this thing in crypto world where there are a whole lot of ancillary activities being conducted, and every day or the other, one token is falling in the other, one is looking to file insolvency. The famous one happened yesterday between Binance and FTX. And it's very unregulated, but metaverse compared to crypto is a little more regulated because it's a little easier for people to understand. It's very hard to predict right now where are we going and how it would be sustainable. In my honest opinion, virtual reality, so metaverse is like a very ambiguous term in itself. A lot of people have interpreted it very differently, and right now, because there's no legally established or universally accepted definition of this concept, we are free to interpret it. I think of when people say metaverse, I think of the virtual reality, because metaverse by sheer understanding requires a headset which is in virtual reality. The AR glasses are better. I would see that we would soon step over this concept of virtual reality and enter the dimensions of augmented reality or extended reality or mixed reality, so to speak. And I'll tell you why. Because we have started to see, and personally I have started to see, on an average, a lot of these workplace injuries, or a lot of injuries per to say, come up with these bulky headsets, disorientation, momentary disorientation, watery eyes, headaches, injuries in the nervous, nerve injuries, sort of things have come up, and people are not happy. It's way too immersive for people. They are completely blocked and isolated from the real surroundings. It's good for momentary escape, but none of us want to be in a very immersive environment where we do not even connect with what is happening. We are not our real selves. It's an avatar. You don't see yourself. You don't know who the other person is. Everything is virtual. Even like there are these lovely platforms where people go and they play games, and then there are these bars and social lounges and areas, and a lot of conferences are happening. It's good. It's good from a gaming perspective, or the gamification of the entire thing is very good. And a lot of companies are investing in it. Meta now is one of the leading ones. But the humans by nature are very social. If I cannot go and drink my drink at the bar, what use would it be that my avatar pays $60 to this conference just to enjoy a chat with another avatar and have a drink? I'm not physically doing it. That is why yesterday I read that Oculus co-founder, he invented a new sort of a VR headset that literally releases small amount of electric shocks into your head just to get that real feeling of being killed by a gunshot in some game online. And there was a lot of discussion around it, and I was like thinking, and a lot of people actually thought this VR headset could kill you, and I was like, well, nobody can publicly market and sell equipment that can aid suicide. It is just something that he's trying to make it more realistic, but it will definitely not kill you. But then the entire ethics and morals are questionable, that what are you ultimately trying to do with those electrical shocks that the VR headset gives? So you see, the sustainability aspect is very difficult to predict right now, because it's going in all dimensions, ethics wise, in good dimensions also, and in bad dimensions also. When we move to a technology that is less immersive and much more useful, right now, for me, metaverse hasn't proved any real use case. Augmented reality would. And I think that is when we can talk about how sustainable this technology is. And of course, provided that we are not bombarded with ads like we are on these other Web2 platforms, or how these ads and things that we don't want to see pop up in front of our eyes. But I think that's also going to be the revenue model for these companies who are investing billions and billions. If they won't bombard you with ads, how are they going to meet their revenue targets? So sustainability is questionable for me, definitely. But yeah, extended reality, mixed reality, augmented reality is what the future would be, definitely. And that would be sustainable, in my opinion, because people would have the option to just remove their glasses, or just close their apps and then re-immerse themselves in the physical world. I read in the newspaper that India is also looking to redraft the IPC and CRPC now. What was the need? The need was that our existing laws are so obsolete, or so disconnected with what is happening now, or what is going to happen in the next 50 years, that we require this overall amendment or redrafting of our existing laws. Legal tech is the same. So remember, like the days, and I think I've heard stories from a lot of people, of my friends who are litigators, that Indian courts are not really very clued up on tech. Even video evidences have to be filed in CD form. There's no way you can just play a video for a judge to see what happened. And for me, it's very shocking because, the German courts adapted quite well to the virtual world that we became during COVID, and it is still more or less continuing. And, it's only sad that Indian courts are not really looking into virtual courts, because virtual courts would enable people from the remotest area, from the poorest and the weakest sections of the society, to seek justice, to come and stand in front of the judge and explain in their own terms, with their own emotions, their own story. And that is very important, because we rely so heavily on the advocates, who are doing a fantastic job for the client, no doubt. But then it's still like a grapevine, it's still a passage of information. And I feel that when judges would see how emotional people can get and how sentimental their stories are, they would be in a better position to gauge the situation of the case. Today, when the new CGI took oath, and I saw on LinkedIn how emotional people got, and I want to share. I don't know if he would ever watch this, but when he was in Bombay High Court, I used to intern there, and he is obviously a very, very good orator, a very, very good judge. Also, he's handsome. So I remember that, a lot of girls used to just go sit in the courtroom where he was, because he was so good looking. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people got emotional when he took oath today, and this is the part of judiciary on a layman's life. And judiciary also has equal responsibility to hear these people who respect, and if I may, love them so much. We don't use these terms with respect to judiciary, like terms like love and like, but I think that is the most honest expression we can use of how a man feels. Now, coming back to legal tech, I think legal tech is something like what I would say is tractor to a farmer. It saved my life. The company that I work at as a general counsel, we operate in 160 countries. Imagine the amount of legal documents I have, and imagine what my condition would have been if we did not have a CLM, or if we did not have any other tool to aid me. A lot of people are experimenting with AI-based technology, even in the legal industry, which I think is remarkable, and I am totally up for it, because you do not want to be drowned in a lot of paperwork. You want to do your work smarter and more efficiently, and that is where legal tech helps us. There was a competition. I vaguely remember this, reading somewhere, AI versus lawyers, like very, very senior lawyers, like with very senior contract lawyers from very big firms. They had a competition, and the accuracy rate of these lawyers was 86%, while of the AI was 97%. So this is what AI can do. I don't want to be sitting and reviewing 160 contracts in my day. I just want an AI to run through the contract, just auto-populate these clauses or these terms which are contentious, and then I just want to work on that. I don't want to read the regular stuff again and again. This is, I think, legal tech can also aid judiciary. In the Netherlands, there was this test project where AI helped judges write judgments and deliver judgments. I used to do a lot of research also for the judges, and their accuracy improved remarkably. Like, judges themselves said that it's so much easier. The law clerks said that it is so much better for us, because for us it's now easier. We don't have to do a whole lot of things. Nobody wants to work 12 hours a day. Everybody wants to work 8 hours a day and work efficiently. Why not use this? This is something that I struggle. We don't use it, and I don't know why. Just add one more thing here, Prabjot, and this is something that I've seen after working with lawyers from so many countries. It's very funny that lawyers who've studied under the common law system, we believe in longer contracts and a lot of legalese. Civil lawyers generally believe in smarter and shorter contracts. So this is where AI helps, because it cut through so much of legalese. It literally, like, some of the Australian contracts that I have come across, oh my god, the amount of legalese they use, and there are like caveats and conditions in one section, and then you are like lost. What was the original idea of this section? This is where AI can definitely help. And I would definitely suggest any company that is, or any lawyer that is working in multiple jurisdictions across countries, to definitely take help of AI tech. Legal tech is, for me, more or less synonymous with AI tech, but yes, there could be better solutions to it also. But in my limited usage, because I have always been a corporate counsel and my work relies heavily on contract management, it has definitely been a boon for me. Actually going to be very honest here, and my opinion is biased because I also own this company, Aviana, and at Aviana we are researching to build a self-learning AI backend, which would be connected to a front end that would be a bot or an avatar. So this is essentially what we are building. We want this AI to be so smart to just self-learn from a whole lot of environments, from a whole lot of conversations, from a whole lot of scenarios. And we are very close to launching the prototype. So earlier next year, in January 2023, we would launch it. Having said that, yes, when we did our research and we had these clients where we would go and ask them, a lot of people were very, very apprehensive of AI, because of course their image of AI stemmed from these Hollywood movies where RoboCop would just go shoot people, or all these robots being painted in poor light. But no, it's not going to be that. AI is not going to replace humans. AI technology is at a very nascent stage. Definitely it would progress, yes, but it can never ever become so good or so experienced or so powerful that it would replace humans. There's a reason why synthetics are synthetics and humans are humans. Though there is a Danish party, and I think this is a fun fact here, Prabjot, like I don't know who is interested, but this is the fun fact. I think in Denmark or Sweden, one of these countries, I think it's Denmark, yes, Denmark. They have now launched an AI called Lars. He's a synthetic who has stood up to fight elections. And this is the first time a non-human would be fighting elections. Now, the biggest question is that should AI be granted legal personhood? Because how else can they represent humans if they do not have any legal personhood? And I believe that, whether these AI receive legal personhood or not, somewhere there is again a human at the back who's built this robo or this AI and who has a legal personhood. It's just like, can you transfer your legal personhood to another synthetics? I mean, that's a different question under AI Act. We can discuss it always later. But coming back to this, it will not. What we need is the efficiency of AI to be amalgamated with the understanding, logic, and reasoning of humans. This is where it would come. A lot of people fear that AI would take their jobs, starting from the manufacturing industries. Of course, we lawyers are farther away in the line. Like, our jobs cannot be taken away, and thanks to the obsolete ways of how we are working also in courts. But no, AI will not replace us. The best AI could do is make us more efficient. And if we are becoming more efficient, then what is the harm? I do not see any harm. You see these autonomous vehicles. I'll give you one example how AI is far from being perfect right now. Tesla or any other company that you can think of, they have built these autonomous vehicles, and these autonomous vehicles still crash. And then the question arises, who is to be responsible, whether it's the AI in the autonomous vehicle, whether it was the driver, or whether it should be the manufacturer of the company that built this malfunctioning AI. That is still debatable. There are a whole lot of cases where judges across the world and lawyers like me across the world are helping people understand whose responsibility it is, and there's a whole lot of act that is coming up in 2024 around it. But AIs are very good in predictable environments. Lawyers deal in unpredictable environments. We think we have to be sharp with our tongue, with our mind. At least while arguing or while pleading in court, AI cannot do that. So I think nobody should be worried that AI is going to take our jobs anytime soon, not even by 2058. And this comes from somebody who's building a smarter AI. So yeah, be rest assured. I would say think out of the box. When I was graduating, there were only two ways you could go. Either you become a litigator or you join a company and you become a corporate counsel. That is no longer true. Legal tech is one of the fastest emerging markets, and the demand for lawyers in this industry is very, very high. So you have another revenue. You have technology on your side. But what I would say is, like I said earlier, definitely be the master of the laws that you've studied in the country, but be very, very also aware of what the other laws across the globe are, because people are it's a globalized economy. People are no longer only dealing or doing things in one jurisdiction. Sooner or later, believe it or not, we would be moving from this entire litigation heavy environment to alternate dispute redressal mechanisms like mediation or arbitration, because when you are working cross-jurisdictional and where there are multiple jurisdictions involved, how could you just fix one country for litigation, and how would you expect these other people to come and defend themselves? It's not feasible. People won't do that, and that is why you have these quasi-judicial powers that are currently granted to arbitration. But of course, I do think that this will evolve into something more powerful. So definitely understand laws. Don't just go after courses. It's very, very good to go after to do courses. It gives you very good theoretical knowledge, but it doesn't give you practical knowledge. Nobody would hire a lawyer that's only good in the books. Everybody would hire. And when I was in CLC Campus Law Center, we had this thing amongst ourselves. There was a certain chief minister of a state that had graduated from the same center, and that chief minister wasn't the brightest of the student. They were just passing always in the semesters. But the joke was that they became the chief minister for like the second or the third time, and the guy who was the topper in their course was just another litigation expert in the Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court. That was the joke we had. That was very silly because we were very, very young, 20, 21-year-old joking. But I wouldn't say that, but I would say that learn through practice. This is how it is. The courses are no longer going to be there. Things are moving very, very fast. It has to be through practice, and don't be shy of reaching out. I still reach out to a lot of lawyers to learn, and they don't pay me. I don't ask for money. I just want to learn. So that should be the approach, because you want to learn. Some people could also say, because when you are young and you've just graduated, you don't have money. So it's very comfortable for somebody who has a full-time employment in 3 companies to say that I don't ask for money because I have money. So I can pretty much understand. I was also in the same position. Delhi University mein wo 20 rupees ka chola kulcha used to be like, an extremely expensive affair for us sometimes. So I completely understand how people are feeling, but sometimes you just have to barter between where you want to see yourself and what the short-term goals and the long-term goals. in your life.